right, guys, welcome to episode 2 of Bricks and Bots. We actually have a name this time
Came
around.
up with a name, so at least you know what to search for on YouTube if you're ever trying to reference these.
So, also saying that, the channel's officially up and running. A couple shorts have yet to be posted, but first episode is live. If you're watching it on YouTube, then you already have the link, but of course it'll be on both of our Instagrams and the team page as well.
Yeah, we'll have a direct link to everything, so you should be able to find it if you follow us anywhere.
Cool. Today.
Yeah, so like promised, we are going to get started on how to prompt. It's a pretty basic skill, or it sounds like it should be a pretty basic skill, but how you prompt makes a huge difference in the outcomes of what the bot does for you. You really need to try to rein it in sometimes. You need to assign it a role. You need to be very specific about what you want. The more specific you are, the better.
I think one thing that I uncovered with prompting was you think you open one door, which opens 10 more, and then you open each of those and there's 10 more. So prompting can either be a daunting task, but you find out after constant practice that it comes down to a very, very simple, like, a bunch of our prompts now are, I'd say, 5 to 10 sentences, maybe.
Yeah, and once you find it, it's kind of like we touched on last time. Once you find what works, save that, build off of it for everything else.
Dial it back. You don't, I think really the only types of prompts for that would be any like extravagant or long in that manner would be your type of Gemini prompts for staging.
Yeah, I think it only gets tougher and requires more instruction the more advanced the task is.
And I mean, that's only because you are simply touching on every single point of editing that photo needs, right? So that context is massive.
Well, it could be considered overkill, but ultimately what I'm trying to do is yield the same result so that I can go room to room throughout the place and get the exact same style, the exact same restrictions, so that I don't have to do 10 prompts per image.
Exactly, and that's difficult because you get to a point where unless every room in your house is a bedroom, then that would be relatively easy for you.
Yeah, exactly.
But so prompting in general, guys, is essentially a step further than actually just taking these AI systems and asking it a simple question. It's dialing it in a little bit more and actually getting a lot more information on the input to receive better information on the output.
Yeah. So I guess, do you want to touch on like the basics of prompting?
Basics are, I mean, we both use a simple thing called CRIT, which is context, role, interview, task.
Right.
If you base all of your prompts simply on this is kind of what can I relate this to? The 5 W's of school, essentially.
It's the framework for how to yield best results out of these things. It sounds really simple, and ultimately it is, but if you miss on any of these points, you're less likely to get good results.
Exactly.
Usable results.
Exactly. And you get, this is essentially just this CRIT format, the framework. It takes you from a level 2 to a level 8. I'm not going to say 10 because I don't even think anybody's at level 10 with these things.
Go take the Google prompt engineering course for 16 hours, and then you might be able to figure that out. So do you want to touch on context?
Cool, yeah. So essentially, CRIT stands for context, role, interview, task, like I just said. Context is essentially the context of what you are trying to do. Like, let's say for a seller CMA email, one of our most frequently used prompts, you are going to upload the CSV or PDF at this point. That is going to be the context of the entire prompt and what it is actually going to use.
Right. So I'll touch on the next part, which is the role. So that's how you want the LLM to behave during this task. You can, like, it understands different roles that it can play. So if you wanted to act as a real estate assistant, don't just say, hey, act as a real estate virtual assistant. Say, act as a real estate virtual assistant. Ask me any additional questions that you might need. Try to be critical of my questions and my inputs. If you feel that there's missing information, ask me for it.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, you're trying to get it to act in a way that you would expect an assistant in person to act. Even though the roles are much more narrow.
Exactly.
You want it to understand what it's supposed to behave like.
Because it's anything that you type in, it is going to give to you at face value.
Yeah.
Like, so this may seem above and beyond, and this may seem like a daunting task at first, but it is like a holy crap amount important actually to getting the proper information that you want. Like we touched on last week, where if he simply just said to that ChatGPT, where the guy who ran the mile, if he simply said the average time for a mile is this, right? That would have taken that whole scenario, and when he was 1 second and he took one step to the left, he would have, or chat would have compared 1 second to 7 minutes and went, okay, sir, I don't think there's any way that you could have run a mile.
Right, and also if you tell it to be critical of you, it will cut out flattery, which ultimately these things are tools that want you to continue to use them.
Yes.
So there are a lot of them that will sit there, and by default, they're very polite. They respond very courteously, but they also flatter the user a lot, and will just say, yeah, you're great. You're awesome. You can absolutely sell that home for $4 million. That's worth $1 million.
It wants to give you the right answer, or make you think it's the right answer.
Right. So without setting that role, without telling it that you don't want to be flattered. I don't want flattery. I don't want any fluff. I want you to tell me, based on this input data, does this fit with what I am trying to accomplish?
And what it comes down to is, it's even funny that you say that, because like my virtual assistant, like if I run my morning briefing prompt, it'll tell me, you have an open house today, go crush it. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to, man. Like, thanks, bud.
Yeah.
As Steve kind of touched on before, next would be interview. This is a very, very important part of the prompt, because this is where the LLM is actually going to get your feedback on what it's trying to do, what you want it to do. It's very important how you word this section. You want it to ask 5 questions. I wouldn't go any above 5, because then it will sit there forever.
It'll start trying to come up with questions that aren't necessarily relevant to the scenario.
Exactly. So if you kind of cap it at 5, it will know that it has to get the most amount of information out of only 5 questions. So these questions will be extremely relevant to the actual scenario. So prompt it, say, interview me. Ask me 1 question at a time, up to 5 questions, to gain deeper insight into the task and what I actually want from you. This is where you are going to type, it's going to type a single question, you give a single answer, and by that, and why we set it up 1 question at a time, is because your answer is going to dictate the next question. So hopefully by question 5, it has the most amount of insight.
It should have at least enough to accomplish the task the way that you're setting. And this is only if you've set up the context and the role appropriately. It should be able to, within those 5 questions, narrow down how to complete the task the way that you want it completed.
Exactly. And the last one would be
the task. So telling it exactly what you want the end point to be. Don't tell it the first thing. Don't give it an open-ended, help me out with this. So if you want a CMA email written to a certain type of personality, written in a certain format, written in a language similar to how you usually speak, especially if you've connected it to your email account, it can do that, but you need to give it the context of what you want the end point to be before it starts
Exactly.
doing the task.
Exactly, because then it has a point A and a point Z,
Yeah.
and you asking it questions, giving it the context of the role is filling in that middle gap. It's giving it the clearest path. Now, you're clearly on this because you don't have a clear path, and it's trying to make it, so it's going to take both of you guys to kind of mingle in and get together, and that's kind of where you're wanting to end up.
Exactly.
Task examples can be, write this email. Now, okay, let's do it something for basic, like an email. Like,
Sure.
if context, I'm writing an email to my buyer client who wants to place an offer $100,000 under asking. Role, act as an executive assistant,
Right.
who is extremely knowledgeable in writing emails and has proper language skills, proper language formatting.
Format your language appropriately for a professional environment. Understand that the seller is this kind of person, this kind of personality. This is what they value. If they're a person who is very numbers focused and wants something very concise, tell it that. If it is a person who values having everything explained in depth,
There you go.
explain that.
And exactly touching on that, that's where the interview portion comes in.
Right.
Ask me one question at a time, up to 5 questions to gain a deeper insight into my buyer,
Right.
who he was like, what he wants. This
Right.
is when it will then ask you, why is your buyer trying to do this? What type of personality is your buyer?
Yeah.
And then finally, when it comes down to the task,
Yeah, ultimately, the task here will be to format the email, and you can even add, if it's connected to your email account, which will save you time and we'll touch on later how to do,
yeah,
it will be draft the email, save it in my drafts, do not send the email.
critical, guys.
That is one of those restrictions.
Critical. Restrictions on these things are absolutely huge. There was a story that came out with this is a much farther advanced AI system that actually some guy I think created in his basement.
Yeah.
And Steve has been playing along with it quite a bit, but there is the restrictions that he has on this thing are insane, like not only insane, but insanely important to have, or else you would be out, what, $10,000
Oh,
about the
very
moment?
easily. Yeah, so this is, if you're on here, you probably haven't heard of it, but it's called OpenClaw. And for anyone who's watching this, to try and gain context on how to prompt, don't touch this.
Don't stay away.
It's much more autonomous. It runs its own prompts repeatedly every half hour. It continues to work on overarching tasks. But because of that, I've seen people who connected to their banking accounts saying, just keep using as many tokens as you need, and they end up owing whichever developer they're using, whether it's Claude or Gemini or GPT, the 5 figures.
Exactly.
billing.
Exactly. It's stay away from it right now. Once you get a little bit, I mean, we're on episode 2, man. I don't think that's even
We're not
we're not
touching on that for anything for a long time.
We're gonna get an email of someone telling us, "Hey, you taught me how to lose $15,000," and I'm like,
Specifically, we're not going to teach you how to use that.
So
because it can be extremely useful if it's run in the right way. But like most of these, if you were to say, for example, touching back on task, that write an email responding to this person, well, telling it responding to this person may very well result in it sending the response.
Exactly.
Without you having proofread it.
Exactly, because you didn't put one simple sentence of save it to my drafts and let me proofread it.
Yep.
Just something as simple like that.
Yeah.
Follow this for all your generalized prompting, guys. Now, we use this one specifically because it's very straightforward, very open. There is a bunch of back-end framework that you can use. You can find a couple different acronyms, abbreviations for them.
Yeah.
This one is just very, very open-ended, and I think it's a great place to start for people actually getting into these systems.
Yeah, so just remember context, role, interview, task. These are the basic framework for properly prompting your LLM in a way that will yield results that are actually usable. Cool. And
I think that just about wraps up today.
Yeah.
Of course, guys, this is only episode 2. Please stay tuned for more to come. Of course, if you have absolutely any questions on any episode or how to dive into this a little bit further, both our Instagrams are attached. Please feel free to send us a message. We'll be more than happy to help.
Yep, exactly. So we look forward to hearing from you. And if you're interested in a little more information, getting a little more in depth, subscribe to the channel, follow our Instagrams, and you'll know where to find us.
Cool. All the best, guys.
Yep, see you soon.